everybody! As you can see, it's Fandom Friday, and I'm here just as a character from my favorite fandom, hands down, sorry to everyone else, Harry Potter. So obviously I'm in my Gryffindor robe, and I have Hermione's wand here. So today I'm going to be going over some of the most underrated Harry Potter moments in the entire series. These are funny moments that aren't necessarily portrayed in the movies as significantly as we would want them, or maybe not even portrayed at all. So today I'm going to be going through these with my trusty, actually my sister's trusty Harry Potter box set right here, because we have another set but they're really old, so I'm going to use the nice ones. So the first moment I'm going to talk about is in Deathly Hallows, also my favorite book in the series, and this is actually my favorite moment in the entire series because I am an extreme Ron and Hermione ship. They're my all-time OTP, so I'm going to talk about their actual first kiss. Now in the movies it's portrayed as the Chamber of Secrets, they just finished destroying a Horcrux, and that's all fun and good, but actually in the book it happens in a way that's a lot funnier, and in my opinion, a lot cuter. This takes place on page 625, chapter 31 in the Battle of Hogwarts. So essentially, Hermione and Ron and Harry are in the Room of Requirement, and they're all kind of freaking out because they're in the middle of the battle. They just gathered a bunch of basilisk fangs to try and destroy the Horcruxes. And Ron mentions something about saving house elves, which in the books is a really big deal to Hermione, and Hermione just kind of freaks out, drops all of her basilisk fangs, and runs over and kisses Ron. Now, that's all funny in itself, but the best part about this is Harry's reaction. So I have here, it says, "Is this the moment?" Harry asked weakly, and when nothing happened except that Ron and Hermione gripped each other still more firmly and swayed on the spot, he raised his voice. "Oi! There's a war going on here!" I just remember dying at that. And it's just so funny. And Harry in the books is so sassy. I mean, he's sassy in the movies, but oh my goodness. It's just so funny. Because there is a war, and it was their last chance, I guess, they could think of. But I just remember rereading this so many times. I memorized the page number when I was first reading this back in, like, 4th grade. It was my favorite part of the entire series. I can't even tell you. I've read this countless times. So the next moment I have actually comes from the longest book, Order of the Phoenix. Now, my favorite thing about Order of the Phoenix is that while it's long, there are so many moments in it that just go completely unrecognized. There is a scene in here that I never even realized was in here, to be honest. Most Potterheads say that this is the most boring book just because it's so long and has so much information, so I really haven't reread this all that much, and my sister pointed out to me after going through and rereading a little bit of it that there's actually a scene when they're fighting in the Hall of Prophecies where Ron gets attacked by a brain. I'm not kidding. Essentially, it jumps out of a fountain of brains, which sounds ridiculous. It attaches itself onto Ron's face, and he fights with the brain, and it essentially makes him go loopy. He kind of loses his mind. They called it a mind scar in the books. That might be one of the weirdest battle moments from all of Harry Potter, when Ron got attacked by a brain. My next moment also comes from Deathly Hallows. Deathly Hallows has a multitude of hilarious moments, which is weird because it's probably the most morbid book of them all. In Deathly Hallows, once they completely finish the Battle of Hogwarts and Voldemort is dead, everybody's all okay. Well, not everyone. Sorry, all the feels. You hear Peeves the Poltergeist flying around the castle. And he wasn't mentioned in the movies, which is really, really sad because he has plenty of great moments, some more that I'll talk about later. Comes up with a little victory song that I memorized at one point. I don't have it memorized anymore, which I'm really ashamed of. On page 746 in chapter 36 of Deathly Hallows. So it says, "We did it! We bashed them! We Potter's the one! And Valdy's gone moldy, so now let's have fun!" And I remember just singing this all around the house because it cracked me up that Valdy has gone moldy. It just brings so much humor to a rather dark situation that they just went through. The next moment I have is in Goblet of Fire, actually. And while we hear the most about divination in Prisoner of Azkaban, this moment comes from divination class in Goblet of Fire. Ron and Harry are sitting at their table, and Harry is reading his prophecy. It says, "I've got 2 Neptunes here," said Harry after a while, frowning down on his piece of parchment. "That can't be right, can it?" "Ah," said Ron, imitating Professor Trelawney's mystical whisper. "When 2 Neptunes appear in the sky, it is a sure sign that a midget in glasses is being born, Harry." That just cracks me up, because while Ron is wonderful in the movies, his humor level is 5 billion times better in the books. It just sounds like something a 14-year-old boy would say to tease his friend who's short and wears glasses. So this wonderful moment comes from courtesy of Fred Weasley, and the Weasleys are just pure gold in the whole series. This is in Deathly Hallows on page 444. He's talking with Lee Jordan and Harry, and they're talking about how you-know-who, Voldemort, supposedly running all over the country. And Fred makes the comment that you-know-who can, quote, move faster than Severus Snape confronted with shampoo. If you get that image, that's the funniest thing. Because Severus Snape, although he does hold a place near and dear to my heart, he does have some very greasy hair and is in need of some shampoo. Next one comes from Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This is another Snape moment because he does have some funny ones. He and Harry are talking, or arguing more so, and Harry responds to Snape with, yes. Snape then says, to assert, of course, his dominance over Harry, yes, sir. Harry then looks at him and, of course, being his sassy self, goes, there's no need to call me sir, Professor. Just the level of sass that boy has. Again, this next moment comes from Half-Blood Prince, and this is another moment courtesy of the Weasley twins, Fred and George. As many of you probably already know, they own a joke shop, Weasley's Wizard Wheezes. One of their products is called You-Know-Poo, which you know is already gonna have the best slogan in the history of products. Why are you worrying about you-know-who? You should be worrying about you-know-poo, the constipation sensation that's gripping the nation. I remember when I first read that, I had to pause and just appreciate the Weasley twins, because it's a time of terror, and they're like, you know what? You-know-poo! That's exactly what we're gonna put out in this time of war. Next moment is from Order of the Phoenix again, and I feel like all of these moments are involving the Weasleys. Ron becomes a prefect, and Mrs. Weasley is so happy about this that she just exclaims, it's everyone in the family! Bill, Charlie, Percy, and Ron are all prefects. And Fred and George look at her and go, what are we? Next door neighbors? I love them. So this next moment comes from Sorcerer's Stone, and essentially this is where you are being introduced to the Dursleys. It goes, Aunt Petunia often said Dudley looked like a baby angel. Harry often said that Dudley looked like a pig in a wig. Even at age 11, when he's not even directly speaking to the audience, Harry is so sassy! Hey, this one also comes from Sorcerer's Stone, and this is another Fred and George moment, of course. So in Sorcerer's Stone, Fred and George decide to throw snowballs at Quirrell's turban. And as most of you know, if you don't, spoiler alert, inside of Quirrell's turban is Voldemort. Twins are throwing snowballs at Voldemort. Can they get any better? This is another one of those moments when I first read Deathly Hallows. This was one of my all-time favorite moments from this series. So this is, again, Fred and George. I think we see a pattern. When flying to the Weasleys' house, most of them are looking like Harry. George actually gets his ear cursed off. He's kind of in a daze. He's laying on their couch when Fred comes back. Obviously, his twin is very concerned about him because, obviously, he's missing an ear now. He's got a bloody hole in the side of his head. When Fred asks him if he's okay and how he's feeling, George goes, saint-like, opening his eyes and looking at his brother. You see? I'm holy. Holy, Fred. Get it? And then Fred has the nerve to respond. The entire world of ear-related humor, and you go with I'm holy? This is just such a classic moment that I had to put it in. Because here we've got Order of the Phoenix again. Essentially, Peeves is again causing some mischief, and he is unscrewing a chandelier inside of Hogwarts. Harry notes that he witnessed Professor McGonagall walking right past Peeves, who was determinedly loosening a crystal chandelier, and he could have sworn he heard her tell the poltergeist out of the corner of her mouth, it unscrews the other way. Just McGonagall. This next one comes from Prisoner of Azkaban. Gryffindor Quidditch team loses a match to Hufflepuff because Harry actually gets distracted by Dementors. Obviously, no fault of his own, but he ends up in the hospital wing. Oliver Wood is very upset about this loss. And when Harry wakes up from being unconscious and asks where Wood is, the twins, with their wonderful remarks, respond with, still in the showers. We think he's trying to drown himself. I can't laugh enough at the twins. Alright, then we got another moment from Sorcerer's Stone. They have just gone down the trapdoor following Snape's and then Quirrell's tracks to the Sorcerer's Stone, and they get trapped in Devil's Snare. And now Hermione knows that Devil's Snare does not like light, so she's trying to think of a way to produce light to get them all undone from these vines of the devil's snare. She actually starts to panic. Ron tells her to light a fire. She says, "I can't! There's no wood!" And Ron looks at her in the midst of all of this and goes, "Are you a witch or not?" It just cracks me up because Hermione is obviously Muggle-born, so she would immediately go, "Oh, I need fire. What am I gonna do? I don't have any wood. I can't light it." And Ron's just like, "What? Like, you're so smart, but sometimes." Our final moment comes from Deathly Hallows, and this is actually the epilogue, which is one of my favorite scenes to reread because it's just so funny. Now, Ron takes a Muggle driving test. I'll read it to you. "Parked all right then?" Ron asked Harry. "I did. Hermione didn't believe I could pass a Muggle driving test, did you? She thought I'd have to confund the examiner." "No, I didn't," said Hermione. "I had complete faith in you." "As a matter of fact, I did confund him," Ron whispered to Harry. I can't get over Ron. He's now married with kids. He's still the comic relief in the last pages of the entire series. Alright, so that does it for this week's Fandom Friday. I hope you enjoyed this. I had a really fun time researching all of these funny moments for you. And if there are any moments that I forgot, please be sure to leave a comment about your favorites. And please leave a like and subscribe. That would be wonderful. And if you would like to see more videos like this, just wait for next Fandom Friday. We're probably going to be talking about Star Wars. So that holds a special place in my heart as well. Not as much as Harry Potter, but I love it almost just the same. Alright, so I will see you next week with a new Monday Musings, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye!